Hello my YouTube family, Carrie from Parton's Heritage Homestead. I want to take this time at this very moment. I have been responding and interacting with some of you from my previous video. Thank you so much for humbling me to know that there absolutely is a purpose for me to be able to share with others my experience. I know your pain, I know your thoughts to this. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and if I can help bring some of that overwhelmingness down, that's a blessing to me, to be able to share with you what I know. Is everything perfect? No. I like I stated before, I still have so much myself to learn, but to be able to share with you what I have learned, it blesses me, because there's a lot of us, and I am one, who we will suffer in our silence, and there's no sense in that. I'm going to take a video one day on the outside of our homestead. I have stated that we are a city-county line-based homestead. We are not big by far. We have 0.34 acres of land. Utilize the whole land. We raise chickens, we raise turkeys. We have several areas for gardening. We raise our own honeybees, and we just took what we had, grateful in what I have. I can't do everything like a bigger homestead does, but it's not something that is impossible for me. I make it work, and I'm content with that. In areas on others, I have to purchase, and I get that. But maybe I can support somebody else who can, and that brings in trading or working with other farmers and bringing business to them. So I'm still looking around for a lot of things. In the meantime, I do what I can do. I am learning at this point, my growing season, as of right now, we are growing our fall crops, which is fairly minimal at this point. I'm growing cabbage, I'm growing cauliflower, lettuce varieties, cilantro, turnip greens, mustard greens, collard greens. These are the things that we can have. It brings nutrition, it brings fiber, it brings so much. Greens are amazing in our diet, so to grow these on my own saves me money, plus the freshness and the flavor is amazing. Most people don't know this, but as far as turnip greens, you can actually can turnip greens, not just freeze them. You can actually can mustard, collard, turnips. All of these are cannable to have on your shelf. To me, they taste just as well as if I made them fresh on my stove. A few other things. Cabbage. There, to me, and this is the purpose of making this video, was some things in my eyes, maybe it's just a texture issue for me. Maybe it works for some and not others. And here is some of the, would I do this again? Probably not. Cabbage can be frozen, but what I'm learning for the water-based vegetables that hold a lot of water, when you freeze them, the texture changes, to me, unpleasant. I have an example of this with the zucchini. Some things to me is just made more fresh, better to eat it fresh than preserving. Now I have dehydrated cabbage. What I will tell you about dehydration, I can also dehydrate yellow squash, I can dehydrate zucchini, the cabbage, all of this, cucumbers. When you go to rehydrate, however, know this, it will not go completely back to the form that you originally started with. There still is some chew. I'll put it that way. Freezing, I'm learning on the water-based vegetables, mush. I'm just not a fan of mush. I'm sorry. So if you were to ask me what would I do again and what I wouldn't do again, I'm sharing that with you now. Turnips. Turnips absolutely can be canned on your shelf, and it's one of those safe for diabetics. As I learn more and as I go start my season in February, right now this is my down season. I've pretty much done everything that I could possibly do since June of our new. It was really late in my season for even starting growing again. I have accumulated somewhat of a plan that I'm going to start in February. Growing, for instance, popcorn. We can eat popcorn in moderation. I make my own homemade ghee. I render my own lard. I make my own tallow. These are, in our diet, good fats that we can use. We use this towards our meats, vegetables, our so many things. Ghee to me is amazing, and honestly, if I can take a pound of butter and make my ghee with it, it actually comes out cheaper for me to do this, for one. Number two, again, I know what's in it. There isn't these preservatives that I cannot pronounce. So that freshness to me is far greater. I've been doing ghee now for 2 years, and I'll even make a video about it. I believe I have. But if I haven't, I will make a video on how you can do this for yourself. I do not, however, store that on my shelf. I don't per se can it. I actually store mine in my refrigerator, and it has lasted, my first round that I did a year ago lasted me an entire year. Still just as good as I made it the first day. So I will definitely do that again. Tallow, I actually like the fact that I could use tallow in my beef when I'm searing, making my stews, ground beef. It's an amazing flavor, and this is something I just learned. You can usually find the fats for beef and for pork fairly reasonable. I went to a butcher and I had asked just for the fat. Now, based by the price, again, with everything that's going on, it kind of slightly raised up, but my basic price line was $1.59 a pound. To me, that was worth it to have what I want, and I'll put it in my fridge, and it'll last me a good long time, and to have it fresh for me always. I like using the lard and the tallow also for my cast iron skillets. So I have so much information to share. Sometimes my head just keeps rolling, but it's one video at a time. But it is enough that I can have a long fellowship with you, learning, and us just succeeding in life in areas where we at one point thought, what are we going to do? There is hope. I believe in that. There is hope. I believe I am a person who loves God, and without him I couldn't have done any of this. I couldn't even be sharing with you. I love learning, I love sharing, and I love helping somebody else. So again, I stated that this homestead is in a different direction, but it's for a greater purpose, and I thank God for that. To be able to fellowship with you, to make a friendship with you, to give you hope. Where I was in your shoes just 6 months ago, what am I going to do? I'm going to show you what you can do. And some of this, it will take patience as I'm still learning my plans. Again, this is where some of my plans are, is growing my own popcorn as air popped and using ghee, a safer fat, in moderation. Doesn't hurt my husband. It is a carb. It is one of those carbs that break down slowly as a complex. It does not go straight to his sugar. And as I go more, I will explain more into simple carbs and the ones that break down slowly. In a simple term, simple carbs are your bread, your pasta, your sugar, your starches, some of your vegetables that have sugar content. What starts out raw isn't so bad, but once we do what most of us do, like corn on the cob, we'll boil it, we'll roast it, we'll bake it, And the more we do this, it enhances that sugar, and we're cooking it, which therefore does a complete rush to your blood sugar. Where a complex, these are more like your beans, the kind of starches that have a carb breakdown over time where it will not create such a blood rush or sugar rush to your bloodstream. May it raise throughout the night? It may in some case. I'm not going to lie to you. It can. This is the key to moderation. Don't think that you can take a healthy serving or a mound of serving and expect it not to do anything, because even a complex at the point can raise your blood sugar, and it takes a while to break it down. I have learned a rice product. Rice is one of those simple carbs, but I have learned one that is USA made. It's out of Louisiana. I'm going to tell you like it is. I don't know what kind of magic they do with this rice, but it works. It is a low glycemic type of rice called Parish rice. They are from Louisiana, and you can get that off of Amazon. It's a bit pricey. I think it was like $6 for a 2-pound bag. However, I tested this with my husband, and I am still doing a lot of testing. I'm still doing a lot of trigger testing. What works, what don't work. I'm willing to try. And I thank my husband for being the recipient to want to be able to know for himself. Basic rice, brown rice, white rice, balsamic, balsami, however you say that, jasmine, none of these, absolutely none of these rices have worked for him. Being sensitive to carbs, it went straight to his blood sugar, and it was a mess. So I stayed clear from that. But when I saw this Parish rice, I decided, you know, we're still in the trigger phase. Let's find out. I made some, and my husband has this little bowl he uses for his Carb Smart ice cream. He moderates himself by this little bowl, which is anywhere from a half a cup to a quarter of a cup amount, and that's all he'll have. We tested this, and again, I don't know what kind of magic they're doing for this rice, but it worked as a complex that he could eat. It thrilled us to know that we can incorporate this into our diet. It broke down slowly. It did not spike him. And so anybody who's diabetic, now I'm not going to tell you this will work for you, because what works for us, and this is one of the biggest things I've learned in the diabetic world, what works for somebody might not always work for us. And in a lot of cases, we found that to be true. Some people can eat potatoes, but in our household, this new diabetic resident that took refuge into our homestead, that now is part of the family we have to deal with, it doesn't like it in my husband. So I have to find ways for us that works for us. If it works for you, fantastic. Bless you. But for us, it just didn't. So I had to find alternatives. And I'm finding there are some people in our situation. So with all the testing that we are doing, with all the triggers that we are finding, I'm sharing with you what is working and what isn't. My garden plans, again, back to this, it's a broken record, I'm sorry. I've just got so much to say and I can't get it out fast enough. But there's so many more videos I can do. Popcorn, greens. Greens are amazing. I don't care what kind of green. Every green is good for you, from a lettuce to a turnip to collards to radishes to carrots. Well, no, let me take that back. Carrots can be very tricky. It is up to you, and I have found in the raw form, carrots did not affect him as bad, but in the cooked form, they do affect him. So I'm going to presume to say that this is due to the sugar being cooked. So test on yours what works, what doesn't. For us, he can do them raw moderately. So I may not choose carrots. So not all vegetables work. Turnips absolutely work. I had done a potato au gratin fake that turned out absolutely amazing. I took the turnips, sliced them like I would a regular potato, used it in place of my potato, I have a fantastic recipe. Thank you, Papa G, who does low-carb cooking. He had an amazing recipe, and I added our ham to it. You can add ingredients to make this your own. For me, I added ham, and it turned out fantastic. It did not have a bitter taste to it. It was actually very pleasant. The turnip accepted the sauce so well that we didn't even miss the potatoes. Rutabagas, I haven't tried that yet. Some have said those work. I tried a parsnip in a zuppa toscana. Now I love zuppa toscana. It is an amazing soup. However, I had to find alternatives to make it work for us. The Italian sausage, we're finding, when I talked about the hidden sugars, the Italian sausage has that hidden sugar within their cure. It might not always come up on the nutritious label, so read your ingredients. I had found that this to be true when we did the trigger testing to my husband. It spiked him in an uncomfortable way. So I learned to take my own ground pork. I will grind it up and I will add my own sugar-free seasonings without the cure. I will use it in that minute to make up my own Italian sausage, and it worked beautifully. So I found a way we can have Italian sausage. I got so much to share with you. So back to the garden. The other things that I am going to do is tomatoes. Now I am finding my husband can, for some reason for him, he can have tomatoes. Some tomatoes have more sugar content than others. What we are finding that are working, that we grow paste tomatoes. I don't always know the exact name to these, Martinos. Amish paste, not so much. They're really kind of tricky to grow. Martinos, they're a really good size paste tomato. So I will probably grow those again. Beefsteak tomatoes, Kellogg breakfast tomatoes, those worked really good. He loves his yellows and his low acidics, so these worked well. We have the purple Cherokee. Oh my, purple Cherokee have a slightly smoky flavor, makes a great sauce in some instance, or a marinade. Marinades can be frozen, so I will definitely be growing those again. Some, like I tried my cherry tomatoes. For others it may work really good, but for what I do when I look for storing on my pantry, they're good for a salad. You can put them in your sauces and stuff, but for me, I can easily just go purchase a small little container of cherry tomatoes, have them on my salad, and I'm good. To grow an extra amount of them, I would choose to save that spot for something else that I can grow. Peppers of all kinds. We love to make our own homemade pimento cheese. So I am looking to grow my own pimentos and see about canning my own. A little 4-ounce jar runs today about $1.78. I can't see that paying that much, so I'd rather grow my own and work from there. These are just some of the examples of ideas that I have, and I have so much more that I'll share later. One day I'll have a sit down with you and we'll do a complete plan for the year on what we're going to do, see what works, how it worked, and then into the canning season. Right now I am going to show you an example of what I wouldn't do again and why. When I started out, it was zucchini. Learning that sometimes preserving things might not always be the best. Sometimes fresh is better. Love it for a season. And so I leave this choice up to you, but I'm going to show you, for me, I will never freeze a squash base again. I'll show you why. Okay, so I'm going to work this one-handed. Here is my zucchini that I froze. For some, this may work, but for me, now if you're going to do this to make a zucchini bread, I could absolutely see this, as it would add moisture to the flour. But if you're going to use this like I intended to for sauteing, it becomes a different issue. Again, you've got to understand that there's a lot of water within this vegetable. So when you freeze it, I'm going to show you how much water actually came out of this. The texture on this is, it still has somewhat firmness, but if I were to saute this, I don't know if you can see my indentation of my finger. There it is. Let's see if I can bring you closer. See, this was not appealing to me. Now, if I were to saute afresh, yes, you cook some of the liquid out of it, but it does not become mush like this, and I just cannot, I have an issue with that. On top of all of that water that came out of there. So for me and my homestead, this will not be another preserving I would do. If it works for you, yes, you can put it in soups and stews, but my question would be, putting this in a cooked stew that sometimes we leave in our crock pots maybe all day, how much more would this soften? So I just choose not to do this. This will be one of my vegetables I will enjoy for the season and wait for the next. And so there is the reason on some of the things that I'm learning, what I would do and wouldn't do again. Please forgive me if I'm rambling. I just have so much that I learned, and I know it can help somebody else out. Know this, you are seriously loved. I know your pain, and I understand very clearly there isn't a whole lot of information out there, especially as a homesteader. This is very new. I never expected this resident to come into our house. So it can be devastating, but it's not impossible. You can still live the homestead life, great or small. I am small and still succeeding into being a homesteader. I will, if I were to be in a convention with most of them, I would be the little guy. And you know what? I'm happy. I'm content because I'm still self-sufficient. And the more I learn about this new way of life that we have now, this new resident of diabetes, I will share with you, and I look forward to it. I look forward to making new friends. I look forward to meeting people who understand me, because there for a while before I started these with you, these videos, I'll be honest, I felt alone. I couldn't find anybody who could relate to how I feel. And maybe this is what provoked me to reach out to you, because I'm going to tell you, for me, I still have my own flaws. I have health issues that I've had of my own, survival, a thyroid cancer patient. I went through radiation, and it took a major toll in areas of my body that I'm ashamed of. Speaking with you is really hard for me, but I love to be able to help somebody else who understands, to know that somebody else understands and you're not alone. So I will step out of my comfort zone to do that for you. Until next time, so I don't keep rambling on, God bless you. Much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.